good.
Right, Geoff, we talked about in part one about the, you've won awards yourself for journalism and rose to the very top of the profession. Today's press have sometimes been criticised for not breaking the stories because they might upset their contacts and be ostracised. It's sort of happened a bit with some of the more outspoken journalists. Was that the case in your day, and did it ever happen to you?
Yeah, I think I did. There was lots of trainers would say, look, this horse is, you know, this horse is, I mean, I remember one trainer took me into a box doing evening stables and said to me, now this horse, you're going to see this horse, and everything I tell you about him, you're going to forget about him. And it was like he was bred so well by Nijinsky out of Pebbles or something like that. It was by two champions, and he said it's absolutely useless. He said, it wouldn't overtake a hearse up the gallops. He said, and if we run it, it won't be worth $1. But if we retire it unraced, and if it's got a small problem, if you know what I mean, he said, it'll be worth a fortune as a broodmare. And I don't think it was a big cheating. If I had taken to the Thirsk, it probably would have gone. It started 6-4 on and got beat. But it's just where it is. It's just not. It's beautifully bred, and it looks $1 million, but it's just no engine. So, and you listen to that and you say thanks very much. And these days we get people would start laying those, but in those days there were no laying bets anyway. So, well, it was, I suppose. I was laying bets. When I was at school, I used to take bets on Miss World.
So it would have been, it would have been if a big story broke and it was one of your pals, it would be more likely that the journalist would, not necessarily you, but the journalist would think, oh, I better not write anything too negative about this guy. Was it a bit too close in that respect?
Sometimes, I mean, but I remember when after the life I did some, I was freelancing and somebody at Sunday Mirror, I was doing a column there for stand-in for some guy who was on holiday, and I did a nice piece on Michael Roberts from South Africa, because jockey was over here, and I met him in Pangbourne. We had a bit of lunch, and it was a nice feature piece. And they said, yeah, nice piece, but he said, we understand, the jockey, they told me about this jockey in Lambourne, his marriage is broken up. We'd be more interested in that if you can get us the details about that. I said, no, that's not my scene. I can't. I just don't want to do things like that. I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with my feature, but he said, well, it's not going in. Your feature's not going in. I said, well, I won't do it again, and I just packed up the job there and then. I can't do that.
Now the from what we can gather, and I've interviewed a few of the older racing journalists, in this series. When you first started, the press room was a bit like an old boys' club. There was free drink, and you were all having a lot of fun together, and a few people would have a few beers during work. Did the internet and having to actually type your copy sort of kill that culture?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's as I say, we did everything on the phone. We just every copy you ever wrote was on the phone. We didn't have a typewriter or a computer. I remember going to Chicago once, and they gave me a computer called a Tandy, and if you worked it, we'd been using it for a couple of months, but you had trouble at Ascot from phoning in a copy of Ascot, let alone Arlington Park, where I was doing the Chicago stuff. And they had a big meeting at Arlington that day beforehand. NBC were doing a press conference to announce that they're going to sponsor they're going to televise rather the Arlington Million for the next 10 years. I mean, it was the first ever $1 million race in the world. It was the Arlington Million in Chicago, and so I was there trying to dictate my copy because the Tandy just didn't work at all. I tried it over there; it was rubbish. So I'm dictating my copy, and the boss of Arlington was called Dick Duchessois. So I was on the phone, and we had some very good copy takers. They were very good, but there was one guy who looked like Rod Stewart, and he probably typed like Rod Stewart, I think, as well. So we started off the first paragraph, and I went, Dick, and he said, Mick. I said, no, Dick, D-I-C-K. He said, spare line, is it Rick? And I said, Dick. And the American journalist comes over. He said, keep the noise down. He said, we're trying to have a press conference here. Where's your computer? And I said, I don't have a computer. And he said, everyone has a computer. I said, well, I don't have a computer. And so I went back to this guy and I said, Dick, I said, Richard, D-I-C-K. And this American journalist says, Jesus, he says, if he's having trouble with Dick, wait till he gets to Duchessois. So it was it was tricky, but it wasn't like the olden days. But we got used to computers in the end. Nowadays we lost without them, obviously.
Now, the other fairly unique aspect of the racing game is the wide range of backgrounds that the participants come from. I mean, you must have had everybody from literally royalty to some right rascals in your phone book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you build it up for some great people, and I mean, and if some people would don't give my number all around and all that sort of thing, but I think I had all the top trainers and I don't think there was anybody who wouldn't speak to me. I mean, I did fall out with David Nicholson and Jenny Pittman once. David Nicholson, I fell out with him over Adrian Maguire was trying to win the jumps title. It was very close between him and Richard Dunwoody. And one day they had the Victor Chanda Gold Cup was being switched from Ascot because of ground, and it ran at Warwick, and Maguire rode a horse called Ramstar against Dunwoody, and it was a fantastic race. The two of them went hammer and tongs for the last mile, and it was towards the end of the season, so it was a really important race for them. And Ramstar in the end got beat about half a length by Dunwoody, but it was cruel. Adrian Maguire, I loved Adrian Maguire, and we got on great afterwards. He was probably the best jumps jockey never to win the championship, but he did so. To me, it was he more or less cut the horse in half. And I think afterwards the race, I actually said it was like watching a butcher boy, and maybe that was one that's you say never have regrets, but I probably did regret that. But David Nicholson rang me up the following morning, and he said, you and I, we've been pals for years. I've always been pals with him, and he said, but no, as far as I'm concerned, we're finished. I don't want to talk to you again. So and he kept his word for about 6 weeks, and then one day Waterloo Boy, which was one of his favourite horses, won the October meeting at Cheltenham, and he said not many horses. I was at the back of the circle because I didn't want to push myself to the front when the Duke was there. So and he said not many horses, he said, winners have given me more pleasure than this horse, Waterloo Boy. He's been a superstar for me over the years. In fact, I'm so happy that if Geoff Lester's is here. So I said, yeah, I'm here, David. And he said, I think it's time we bury the hatchet. I said, as long as it's not in the back of my head, I'm happy with that. And we shook hands, and I think Pat Larkin and Eddie Byrne, they took photographs, and the Duke said, come on, we're going for a beer. And we went out and had a drink, and it was all forgotten. Jenny Pittman was there the other time. She rang up and she said she rang up 7 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't even seen the paper. And she said, you make me out to be a right moody old cow. And I felt because she could be tricky, Jenny. But in the end, she actually, when she wrote her first book, she signed it to my favourite racing journalist. So it's I get on with most people, but some people you've upset. But you got to do the job, right? Haven't you?
Now, when I was doing my research, I found a little story which piqued my interest because you'd done an interview with Barney Curley. I didn't actually read the interview, but somebody mentioned he'd done an interview with Barney Curley, and they expressed surprise that he'd given you such a good interview and not given you the famous Luke Harvey clip lambasting. And you said that's because Barney respected me as a journalist. So how well did you know Barney, and what was your relationship with him?
I know about Barney. He used to have a big. He was trying to do a raffle in Ireland one day, and he wanted to get promotion about it, and so I helped him. I just helped him out there, and he never forgot that. People are like that, aren't they? And he'd respect him. I used to go to Southall or something like that, and Barney would turn up. If Barney was there, he would say, you don't come here very often. He said, well, I'm here for a good reason. So I thought that's what he wanted to know. So Barney had a bet. He didn't often leave it behind, did he? So we always got on well. But this day at Windsor, for the Racing Channel, I think it was the Racing Channel. Luke Harvey was there as well, doing some pieces, but they wanted Luke to get an interview with him, and he wouldn't do it. He said, "You're a lousy jockey, you're a lousy I mean, I love Luke as well. You're a lousy broadcaster." He said, "No." He said, I don't really want to do an interview with anybody, but if Geoff Lester's here, I'll do it with him." And then Luke saw me. He said, "Come on, you're on the telly." And he gave me the mic and said, "You take over." And so I did, and then ended up working for Racing Channel for a while after that.
Now, when we were talking beforehand, reminiscing about Dancing Brave, Alec Bird was another one who was a legendary. He didn't last long after that, did he? I don't think. But he was a legendary gambler. I mean, did you know him?
Yeah, I met him once in Florida, in Gulfstream Park. He stayed in the same hotel as us, so we had dinner one night, a few of us, and yeah, he was. I think I learned quite a lot from him because he was, before my time really, but he was, he was such a great judge, and he was quite helpful, really helpful, and nice man as well with it. But Dancing Brave, you talk about Dancing Brave. I mean, that was the first time I did the ARC when I became chief racing journalist for the Life, chief racing correspondent. That was in 1986. My first, I did the first front page tips was Pebbles to win the Eclipse, beat Rainbow Quest as well. So that worked out quite well with him. But then next one was the Derby came up, and Monty Court had just taken over the editorship. And Monty's a big pal of mine, has been for years because he used to work Sunday Mirror correspondent. And Monty was editor, and he was a big pal of Guy Harwood's and also Greville Starkey's. And Dancing Brave, I'd back Dancing Brave, everyone backed Dancing Brave. And as we all know now, it got beat by Sharastani. And the following day, I mean, I wrote the piece that Greville had given it a bad ride. It was jockey error, my book still is. But the following day, I was on a Wednesday of the Derby then. Following day, Coronation Cup day, I was having a chat with Mike Dillon of Ladbrokes around the Willis enclosure before racing, and Monty came along because he wasn't at Epsom on Derby day, and Mike said to him, "Oh, hi Monty, I was just saying to Geoff, he had a really good piece on the front page today about Dancing Brave. I thought he got it absolutely spot on." And Monty said, "Well, I didn't, Mike." He said, "In fact, I'd like you to if you just give us a couple of minutes, and I just want to have a quiet word with him." So Mike went off, and Monty said, "It was an absolute disgrace what you wrote." So he said, "I was so tempted to tell you to put red ink over the whole thing and tell you to write it again." And I said, "Yeah, but if you'd have done that, Monty, because everyone knew that you were big pals of Greville Starkey and Guy Harwood, and that's the only reason you would have done it." He said, no. He said, "You don't understand." He said, that horse didn't get a trip." I said, "But you sent Sue Montgomery up to see Guy Harwood down to Pulborough last Sunday. We had the Sunday paper, and in that quote, she's spoken to Greville as well, and Greville's quoted as saying this horse would stay 6 miles." So he said, "Yeah, but he didn't seem to go up the hill that day." But Monty said, He didn't go up the hill at Epsom." I said, "He came down it all right, didn't he? Because he came down it fast enough." And I said, "In the end," I said, "we agree to disagree." And he said, "Fair enough." So, after that, Monty was great. But I mean, I still think that the 1986 Derby is the one that Dancing Brave lost rather than the one Sharastani won.
You got it back in the ARC.
Yeah, he got it back in the ARC, and that was a great day. And then he went to America. Sadly, it didn't work out there for him.
That's what I done my money for with Alex Bird. Anyway.